A very good morning to you. Welcome to YouTube channel Academia Ambala. Today I, Mrs. Madhu Singh, am going to explain lesson from Flamingo. The name of the lesson is Deep Water and it's written by William Douglas. William Douglas has given us an autobiographical account of an incident which otherwise would have changed his life. He has talked about his fear of water in this chapter and finally how he overcame it. Students, William Orwell Douglas was the longest serving justice, 36 years in United States. He was an advisor and a friend to the then President Theodore Roosevelt. This lesson is about he overcoming fear of water. He explains that how he developed fear of water and just couldn't overcome it till he realized that he was missing out on best things of life. Once he decided, he finally overcame fear through hard work, grit, and resilience. Now, how did he develop fear? He says, when he was just 3 or 4 years old, he had gone to a beach in California along with his father. And as a small child, he stood in the surf with his father, and because he was scared of the huge waves, he hung onto him. Suddenly, a strong wave knocked him down and swept over him. He was buried in the water. He couldn't breathe. He was frightened. As the wave receded, he got up, disoriented and frightened. But looking at him, his father laughed. Perhaps he had not even realized how frightened his child had been. However, the experience left him terror-stricken as he feared the strong, overpowering waves. And this is a picture of him standing by the side of the pool, debating whether he should be getting inside it or not. The second incident. Now he was about 10 or 11 years old and he decided to learn swimming. There was a swimming pool at YMCA at Yakima. But it was said that the river Yakima was far more treacherous because every day there were news of people drowning in the river. But the swimming pool at Yakima was safe, wasn't it? So one day, as he was waiting by the side of the pool for others to join him, a big boy, about 18 years old, who had rippling muscles of legs and arms, who was also a bully, came, lifted him up, and threw him into the pool where the water was deep. Douglas landed in sitting position. He swallowed water and went at once to the bottom. As he was going to the bottom, many thoughts crossed his mind. He was frightened, but he was not out of his wits. As he went down, he made a plan. He thought that when his feet would hit the bottom, he would push himself up with a great spring, and like a cork of a bottle, he would spring back to surface. Then he will lie flat on the water and paddle to the edge of the pool. Thereafter, he would grab a railing or rope and he will be able to come out of the pool. However, these were only thoughts. Nothing of this happened. He came up slowly because once you go down the river, the water, the density, you don't just come up like a cork. And as he looked around while coming up, he realized he was in water. And he also felt that the water was not so clean anymore. It had a yellow tinge to it. And seeing that, he panicked. He swallowed water and choked. His legs felt paralyzed and rigid. He screamed, but it was only water who heard him. And he started to go down once again to the bottom of the pool. As he went down the second time, his lungs ached, his head throbbed and he felt dizzy. But once again, being a brave child that he was, he remembered his strategy and tried to spring up like a cork and swim to the shore. The water was now yellow and dark. The terror seized him. He started shrieking underwater, but his shrieks appeared to be frozen, and the only thing that he felt alive was his heart, which was pounding. Amidst all the terror, the young boy reasoned that he must remember to jump once he hits the bottom. Finally, his toes touched the bottom. He jumped, he pushed with all the strength that he had, but nothing happened. The dark yellow water appeared to hold him down. His arms couldn't move, his legs couldn't move. He tried to call for help. He tried to call for his mother, but nothing. Strangely, he saw there was light. His eyes and nose were almost above water. He had come up. But no sooner that he realized that he started to go down into the pool the third time. As he went down the third time, the yellowish light faded away. All his efforts ceased. A blackness swept over his brain, and he thought, "Now I am not afraid. This is nice. I'm going to go to sleep. I have no need to jump. I am too tired to jump. I'm floating now, and there are tender arms like my mother's around me. I must go to sleep. I must go to sleep." And the curtain of life fell. Children, the next thing that he remembers is lying on his stomach by the side of the pool and vomiting. Later, as he went home, he was trembling and he cried as he lay on his bed. He couldn't eat anything that night. He never went back to the pool because he feared water. As he grew up, he could not get over his fear of deep water. The river, the water, the pool remained a terror to him. A few years later, when he went with his friends to the water of the Cascades, he was paralyzed with fear. He couldn't go for boating, canoeing, fishing, and swimming. He decided that now is the time to overcome his fear, and he hired an instructor. Now everything went on systematically. The instructor put a belt around him. A rope was attached to the belt that went through a pulley that ran on an overhead cable. So you see, he was not free floating in the pool. Hour by hour, day after day, week by week, he swam. The terror would return, but slowly he shed part of the fear. Thus, piece by piece, he built a swimmer. The instructor taught him the technique of inhaling and exhaling. Now Douglas could swim, he could crawl stroke, and after 6 months, Douglas could swim in the pool. With the help of his instructor, as you can see in the picture, he's being helped and he's being taught the right way to swim. And of course, these are breaststrokes. As you move in, you have to keep your face out of the water to breathe in. And this is how you float on the water, which ultimately he learned. This is one of another techniques being taught by the instructor, how he can overcome the fear of water. And finally, he was a relaxed person because after 6 months, the instructor told him that Douglas, now you can swim on your own. Douglas decided that he is now going to overcome his fear completely. He swam the length and the breadth of the pool. He could do he could follow all kinds of techniques now. First, Douglas swam alone in the pool. The fear would return, yes, it would, but then he would turn it away. Slowly, he was not satisfied by simply swimming into the pool. So, he went to Lake Wentworth in New Hampshire. He dived and swam across the lake to Stamp Act Island. When he did that, only once did the terror return. And do you know what he did? He laughed at it and he said, "What can you do to me, Mr. Terror?" And the terror fled. It disappeared. Douglas had won. He remembered what President Roosevelt had said. All we have to fear is fear itself. It is the will to live that can overcome the sensation of dying and the terror that its fear can produce. Now, this is the beautiful Lake Wentworth, where he overcame his fear as he swam into it. Douglas, of course, having memories of swimming into the pool and later on into the lake. And that's how he overcame the biggest fear of his life. So children, even we have some fears in our lives, but the thing is, we should keep going. We should overcome. We should face our fear. Then only we can overcome all the problems of our life. If we hide them, if we let them override us, then they will literally ride on our shoulders. So just keep swimming. Thank you and see you soon.